We've created our drums. We're now going to create a pad synth. A pad synth is essentially just a sound that we can play an extended chord on. Selecting the pad track in our project, we need to add a new type of sampler. And for this, we're going to use the one that's called Simpler. So click and drag the Simpler onto your pad. This gives us access to our sampler. We can drag a sound into here and we can manipulate it. The one we're going to use is this one called Matt Ridgway WPGTR Strum, and it's in D. Let's have a quick listen. If we double click the audio, we can see the sound that's here. We're going to do all of our edits directly in the sampler itself. So selecting our pad track, opening your sampler in the bottom right hand corner, we're going to click and drag our sample into our sampler. Now, as this is a D note that's being played, when we play a C in Ableton, it will play a D note. Now we obviously want this to play a C when we play a C. So to correct this, we need to transpose the sample down. We do that in our sampler. Selecting one shot gives us access to our transpose, and we're going to turn it down by 2 semitones. We can then go back into classic. What we now have is a sample that we've tuned down, so when we play a C will play in audio terms. And we're going to add some chords. We're going to double click a cell in our pad. However, the default is that this is only 1 bar. We actually want this to span over 4 bars. So to achieve that, down here where it says length, we're going to click and drag until it says 4. And we're going to put a couple of chords in. We're going to start with an A minor, and then we're going to put an F in. So we're going to start on A2. You can see that the piano roll identifies where the C keys are. So when we have a C2 here, we can count up until we get to A2. I'm going to click a part here, and then simply by hovering over the right end of it, it turns into a stretch tool. And I'm going to stretch this out up until bar 3. I'm then going to do the same for E3. And again for A3. Clicking in the wrong place will move the note. C4. E4. And finally, I'm going to use A4. However, I'm going to extend this across the entire 4 bars. If I click play on my pad, I can audition what this sounds like. So each of these notes is playing the same sample but in a different note. We're now going to add our second chord. It may be useful to zoom in and then drag the project left so we can see our last 2 bars in our full screen. So I'm going to start with an F2. So I'm going to find F2 and stretch it to the end of my project. I'm going to do the same for C3. F3, C4, and finally F4. Let's have a listen to what this sounds like. We've created a pad synth. If I zoom out, we can see all our notes. It's useful to point out at this point that we can also zoom in on the piano roll. By clicking and dragging, I can zoom in and zoom out to make my notes appear larger. Stop the video here, have a go yourself, and then move on to the third video where we'll look at the rhythmic elements.